The presentation of today's racing program is a copyrighted broadcast of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated. Any rebroadcast, recreation, or retransmission of this broadcast without the expressed written consent of the New York Racing Association, Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
Ladies and gentlemen, to honor America, please stand for our national anthem. And they're off. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful Belmont Park. And it's a beautiful summer's-like day here in Elmont, New York. Sunny skies, the temperature in the 80s. The main track is fast. The turf courses are good, with the portable rail set out at 27 feet on both the Widener and the inner turf. We have a jackpot carryover in today's Empire 6 of nearly $50,000. Here now the changes. In the first race, scratch number 1, Make Mischief, part of an entry. Scratch the 1, Make Mischief. And then we have these overweights. The 1A is 2 over. Number 2 is 2 over. The 3 is 1 over. Number 4 is 3 pounds over. Numbers 5, 6, and 7 are 1 pound over. And number 8 is 2 pounds over. No changes in the second, no changes in the third. In today's fourth race, note that number 1, King of Ranch, is a New York bred and 2 pounds over. Number 1A, Pretendant, is 2 over. Scratch number 2, Mr. Short and Simple. Scratch the 3, Frosted Rose. Number 5, Torres del Paine, 2 pounds over. Scratch number 6, Cray Cray. Scratch the 6. Numbers 7, 8, 9, and 11 are 2 pounds over. Also note that number 8, Rhythm Section, is a Ridgeling, and scratch the 10, Blood Moon. So in the fourth, scratch numbers 2, 3, 6, and 10. In today's fifth race, these overweights, numbers 1 and 2 are 2 pounds over. Number 4 is 4 over. Numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8 are 2 pounds over. Also note that number 6, Helen by Night, runs with blinkers on. Blinkers on the 6. Number 10 is 2 pounds over. Scratch the 11, Cafaliani. Scratch number 11. Numbers 12 and 13 are 2 over. And we have a jockey change on the 14, Easy Laurel, to Dylan Davis. Dylan Davis rides the 14, and the weight there is 124. Sixth race, scratch 1, Dinah Passer, and 6, the Great Johanna. In the 6th, scratch numbers 1 and 6. In today's 7th race, note that all horses will be 2 pounds over. Scratch number 8, Master of the Tunes. Scratch the 8, Master of the Tunes. In today's 8th race, scratch 7, Winston's Chance, 8, Chateau, and 10, Abiding Star. In the 8th, scratch numbers 7, 8, and 10. The 9th race is the Commentator Stakes. Number 2, Whistling Birds, 3 pounds over. Number 3, Funny Guy, 1 over. And number 5, Blue, it is 2 pounds over. In the 10th and final race, scratch the 1, Vriodini, and the 9, Commissioner Dave. Scratch numbers 1 and 9. And numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, and 11 are 2 pounds over. Main track is fast. Turf course is good. Empire 6 jackpot carryover, $49,827. We'll be back at 12:45 to recap the changes. First race post time here at Belmont is 1:15. Coming up next, it's Andy Serling and Anthony Stabile. And they're talking horses.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. He's Anthony Stabile. I'm Andy Serling. You got loud music in your ear?
I did.
You did? It's off now?
It kind of sounds like Cult of Personality, but it doesn't go into it, so I get a little upset.
We got to rush. We got a lot to talk about
Let's
today.
do it.
Let's get today's
Track
first
looks
race.
great, as you can see behind us after the rain last night.
Yeah.
Track looks amazing.
Yeah, it was
Great job
well,
by the
nice
gang,
win.
as always.
Nice win. Nice clear day. We start out fast and good. We'll see if those courses dry out. Dirt is harrowed. Race number 1. We'll show a stat for Wesley Ward. It includes the number 2 Wink and the 3 River Tiber. I'm assuming that River Tiber will be favored in this race. You've got a horse that cost $500,000 and is a full 2.
Hit it a bomb.
There you go. Wesley Ward's had decent results. You know, it's not a high percentage, but he's not going to be the super low price here that he is in other places. So he's done fairly well at Naira with his 2-year-old first-time stars going 5. It's really 5 to 6.
Yep.
You know, because we don't run 6.5, so I included that because I was looking at a more broad sample as well. And his broad sample is not quite as good. He's done better at Naira overall. Where did you go in this race?
I went to River Tiber just based on the fact that I didn't see a ton of other pedigree in here. The number 7 Girl Dad.
Did a deep dive?
I did do a deep enough dive. For the sentimentalists out there, the 7 Girl Dad is named after Kobe Bryant and the tragedy back in January. Other than
That would be you, the sentimentalists out here.
Yeah, that would be me.
Just
the
making
8,
sure people
I
are
didn't
clear
just
on that.
mean you. I meant everybody out on YouTube and TV and Naira
The
bet.
sentimentalists?
Alda's a half to a graded stakes winner on the turf, the number 8. We saw this race kind of similarly. I chalked out with Wesley. You went to the daughter of Frankel.
Yeah, Mrs. Frankel. I can't find stats on the Europeans, but it is a European pedigree, obviously. I like this horse's workout. We'll take a look at the sales workout for Mrs. Frankel. 21 1/5 at that sale. I'm going to turn this down, guys, because there's a buzz in there. If you need me, have Bobby wave to me in case another cameraman never arrives. And thanks to Bobby Cladd, he's really a jack of all trades for coming up and pitch hitting as a cameraman. Because if you see our cameraman, by the way, wandering anywhere within a 100-mile radius of Belmont, let him know that Talking Horses is on. Anyway, I thought this was a pretty good workout by this horse. Not really asked and worked pretty fairly. So I'll take this one for Mark Cassian. He doesn't have particularly good numbers at Naira. He's only 1 for 17 with his 2-year-old firsters and turf sprints. But this one has big pedigree.
For those of you keeping score at home, if you're worried about such things, the 1A, 2, 4, and 8 are fillies. The 3, 5, 6, and 7 are colts or geldings. So with our first 2-year-old turf race of the year, the fillies taking on the boys half and half.
I'm always happy to see the girls beat up on the boys in any possible situation. He's a sentimentalist, and I'm an equal opportunist. Race number 2. I don't really have a lot to say about race number 2, and I'm not sure if Anthony will have some other opinion in here. We'll take a look at Bertrand being let me take this call, but unless you think that either or both of these are going to fail to show up and Bustin' to Please is going to improve off the Etodio Arriaga claim, both these horses are just better, and I thought Bertrand was the one to beat. Now, it's been a while, but the Cantor Mossy barn has great numbers. I didn't put them up, but you know that at Naira off the claim in dirt sprints, they're 11 for 36, 31% with a 281 ROI off the claim in dirt sprints.
Merton is that.
That's a sump record.
Merton is that LA do a fantastic
But
job.
they can't get the routers home. They've only got like 1 or 2 off the claim with routers.
Well, that's okay. Look, I thought I put let me take this call on top. It was 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. It's one of those two. Like you said, unless
Seems
Bustin'
like
to Please. Boy, if one of those 3, if you want to really spread in
one of those 3 doesn't win, you're blowing up the early pick 5,
button.
early pick 4.
Yep.
It's very hard to make a strong case for anybody. I tried to make
Very
a
hard
case
to
for
make
my
any case
last
for anybody
million.
else.
I thought wasn't wildly impossible, but just seemed like so much has to happen for those horses to not win race
Couldn't
number
agree more.
2. Race number 3, I struggled with race number 3. I don't know where you went in race number 3. I'm going to take this horse, Long May You Run. And it's really funny because while I was handicapping these races and getting stuff ready, I was watching that. We'll take a look at the video, guys, from Parks. Thank you. I was watching the documentary with Jacob Dylan on Netflix about all the Laurel Canyon stars. And, of course, Steve Stills was on. And I believe Steve Stills, I think Long May You Run's a Steve Stills song, isn't it? Right? So, I don't know. Maybe it was just one of those moments, you know?
Karma.
I don't think it's karma.
Kismet.
I don't know.
Serendipity?
It's one of those things, and I just thought this horse. I mean, listen, I want to see the Jamie Ness horses winning in New York, and I think that is a bit of a concern. But isn't this horse supposed to be gone on the front end?
Well, that's A. B. This is a weird kind of race. I sided with my man Eddie Barker, the birthday boy, and Dr. Bernie's creative style, but
It's Eddie Barker's birthday.
it is Eddie Barker's birthday.
Really?
75.
I'm surprised that I should be looking out for things or something.
No, it's Walker's birthday. I started with creative style, but I couldn't.
I'm going to give Eddie the same thing he gave me for my birthday.
Right, close your eyes, Eddie. This is what I got you.
His exact same present.
I want to see the Nest horses win here first. Am I leaving this horse
I don't
off my
think
pick
you're- I don't think
4
you're
or pick
wrong.
5? No, I'm
Yeah.
using this horse.
I don't think you're wrong.
But I want to see those horses come up here and win.
I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, I think that's a valid point. Creative style last time. He really ran because
Yeah, he
it's a
did.
very odd race where pace didn't fall apart in this race, and he's the only horse that really made a run in there. Now, it was going a mile. I don't really mind the cutbacks, but I think it is at least relevant in here slightly. You worry about the cutbacks more than me. My problem is this race lives in isolation for this horse, and he's got to catch lightning in a bottle again 4+ months later, even if it is Eddie's birthday.
He does. I don't disagree with any of that. I just think that, again, Long May You Run has to get the 6.5. And then those horses have to win coming up here.
Do you really think a 6.5 is going to be the problem? Or do you think the horse is not showing up and running their races from out of town?
I think in his instance it could be a little bit of both. I think this horse is going to have to get that extra. He's 1 for 11 going 6.5. And
with 3 seconds and 3/3.
Yeah, he's
Did he outrun us? Did he underperform? Because he doesn't have a race in his PPs where he's favored except for his last one.
But he's also doing it out of town. He's not
No,
doing it here.
I agree. I think that's the point more than the distance.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making.
I think it's a combination of the two. Look, Colton, Mississippi.
He can win.
He can win first time.
Rudy off the
claim. I don't love the fact that Rudy's dropping this
And
horse
not
win.
waving.
Yeah, well, he can't wave because
Is it
he's
the last
dropping
claiming? Oh, you can't wave if you're dropping?
If you're going up, you can
I got you.
wave. He can't wave, and that kind of bothers me. Why not take one
I
shot
tried to
with
get
this
that
horse?
explained to me and by somebody who does know the answer, and I got a 2-word answer.
Well, May 15th, when we had to shut down racing, you are allowed to take one shot at the waiver for the last claiming level you ran for or higher, because conceivably you're basically not allowed to quote unquote take the base on balls and drop for 12.5 if you were running for 25. So you can run on the raise, because obviously in theory it's a lot tougher to run on the raise.
As long as it's below where your lowest.
As long as it is at the level you ran for or higher in the last start before the break, you were allowed one shot, and I think that was a great
That's what it is. It has to be a
institution.
raise from where you ran the last
time. A raise
time?
or the same level. So if you ran for 25, you can run for 25 or higher.
It's nice
and
to
you
have
get
it
a free
explained to
run.
me. I appreciate that, Anthony.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure others
I
do
think,
as
and
well.
I think it was a great rule. I know a lot of jurisdictions
No, I
did something
agree. I
similar.
think it's a great
I like
rule.
ours
I
the
agree.
best because it's not giving you this prolonged amount of time.
No, it gives you that
take
one shot. No, I agree.
10 weeks off, you got one shot.
I
be
couldn't
done with
agree
it.
more. I thought it was very, very fair. It's hard to argue against those three as the main players. I mean, Lazarus Project doesn't win. Reed Connor could be a problem for Long May You Run. Just has lost his form. And Tail of Mist is just not a winning type.
He's tail of mist, yeah.
Yeah. And he's good enough to be a player, but he just doesn't win. Race number 4, somebody pointed something out about the call of the 4's last race. We're just going to play you parts of it. Do you know the horse was referred to as arithmetic?
So this has been
It is arithmetic, right?
This has been a point of conjecture.
Let's talk about the race.
On
the
radio.
Let's talk. The 5 gets left. And I think it's important. The 5 doesn't break and ends up in the back of the pack. This was one of the most goofily and this was probably the most poorly ridden race, except for everyone named Tyler, except for Tyler Gaffalione.
Unbelievable
who couldn't
ride.
have given the 11 a better ride. He got positioned the outside, mostly because there was so much bad riding going on behind him that it was actually sort of hard to believe. I called Ripley, and he said, "I don't believe it."
Ripley,
So he
Ripley
gets that
doesn't take your
position.
calls anymore.
Rhythm section is completely out of the race. Listen, he did get left. He's got more speed than that. About 7 horses had more speed than they showed. We can pick it up now around the far turn. And Tyler has gotten over the fence. Rhythm section is looking for the rhythm section, actually. I think they were in the grandstand at Gulfstream. And this was some performance. I don't know if Arithmetic will ever win another race again, but I guarantee whatever happens, he'll never get another. Not only will he never get a better ride,
trip than that in his
but
life.
he'll also never get a better ride when more horses are getting terrible rides. I mean, this was that horse I bet in the race for that Happy Alter claimed hasn't come back.
No, he hasn't
that
come
horse
back.
might have gotten one of the worst rides, maybe of the decade, if not.
Easily for the year, maybe what I've seen
What
in
is
my
the debate
career.
about this horse's name? It's Arithmetic.
Pete Aiello, the track announcer at Gulfstream, who called him both times, said he asked and he was told it's arithmetic.
By who? Christophe Clement?
I believe so. I'm just
Christophe?
Bobby Newman flips out on the radio about this too.
It's
So,
arithmetic.
All right.
I mean, you can call an orange a kiwi if you want. It doesn't mean it's a kiwi. It's arithmetic.
I knew this would get you. I knew it. Yeah.
Actually,
I mean,
Nick Tamero riled me up last night about it.
you want to talk about right place, right time. I mean, this horse, and listen, Tyler did an amazing job, but there's a half a dozen bad trips in that race.
There's bad trips in that race that weren't even in the race.
So, is he a player? Yeah.
I think he's barely a player.
Well,
You like rhythm section.
I do. I like Arad getting on this horse.
Because you know that means you get bad value?
That's the only thing, right? But he's destined to get. I would lay.
You buried Belmont yesterday.
Money.
You're burying Barker's birthday, and you're burying Irad.
I would lay money this horse is saving ground and tipping at about the 5/16 pole.
Irad's not riding this weekend. Is he surfing one of the suspensions he's building up for
Who's that?
Irad. He's not riding this weekend.
Yeah, I think he had, what did he get? He got those days for Rock Emperor.
He could have got his days for so many things. Who knows?
He got his days for Rock Emperor and not the Shoemaker, the other race.
In the race in California.
Yeah.
Oh, that was ridiculous. The
Whittingham.
He actually got days for that. He got fouled.
Scary.
He doesn't get days for when he fouls guys, and he got days for a race he didn't foul him. He got fouled first.
I can't even.
The other horse fouled him. He might have won that race if the other horse hadn't bumped into him.
And Bayern stayed up.
Well, no.
How about the DQ
Anthony,
of the War
that's
Will
a terrible
that Monday?
argument.
How about the War Will DQ 2 days later?
That's a different time and a different place. The point is you can't talk about a horse that got bumped in the stretch and was taken down erroneously, and then the rider got days. Compared to a horse that committed a foul at the start, which they don't adjudicate. Anyway, I like the 5 Tour to Pain. Now, listen, Grand Motion has lousy numbers going first time for a tag on the turf. He's 2 for 37. But I'm going to tell you, looking through those horses, one after another, they were horses you probably wanted to stay away from. And I don't think that's the case with Tours del Pain. I think that Graham is looking at this realistically and saying, which non-winners of one am I going to win with this guy?
There's not one around here that he's going to win.
He's not going to win one even at any of the Mid-Atlantic tracks. There's plenty of tough horses. And I think Graham realized at the beginning of the year, I mean, I'm sure, they are horses and all these things, but he's like, you know what, do I really need to have this horse and lose 3 straight non-winners of one, and who knows where he's going to be? I just think he's running where he belongs. I mean, Irish Mias is a nice horse, 4-wheel drive, sprinting. I just thought he was super logical. Beat Doc's Boy. Doc's Boy had a nice winter down at Tampa. I just thought this horse was super logical. I don't love the drop, but I think it's the right drop.
I don't disagree. I do wonder if this horse is going to be a little bit better at shorter distances.
Why? His best race was going a mile and 16th around 2 turns of Laurel. What's that based on? And his best race otherwise was a mile and 16th of the synthetic at Woodbine. Yeah, you're going to have to come with better stuff if you're going to.
That's my other problem with him. I don't.
You got a new problem?
Maybe
because the distance problem was
erroneous. Listen, he might not be. He might be better on the synth. That doesn't mean he can't make a play here. What are you spitting your water out for?
Because the race is barely.
You just got done telling me that his best race going along was the 66, and then I point out a synth race 5 points higher.
Anthony, you said that you thought he was better short than long, and I point out 2 races going long and 2 surfaces that are clearly better in his sprint. That was first. So then you changed to he may be better on synth.
No, I can't have 2 reasons I don't like him.
Well, no, you had a bad reason, and then you found another bad reason.
I don't think the horse is a route horse on turf. I think the horse wants to go short on either turf or on synth.
My friend Steve is going to text me in 1, 2,
I don't particularly
3.
care about your friend Steve texting you. No offense
You're
to Steve or you.
making him even crazier than he already is with his stuff.
I'm not saying
he gave me 7 examples of horse wiring fields off layoffs last time.
What does Steve do?
Steve?
Yeah.
He listens to Talking Horses and gets annoyed when you make things up.
Okay. It's not a makeup. Well,
it is.
Do we want to go horse for horse?
It's not a point. Everyone watching knows that you saying he's better shorter than longer is wrong.
Okay.
So everyone knows that.
Okay.
Steve texted. He said, by the way, does he do pool business? Yeah, if you need to have some work on your pool.
I don't.
Above or below?
I don't. I don't go in above ground pools. I can't get in them.
The little ones, like the little blow-up ones. Race number 5. So let me ask you a question about race number 5. Did you think that the connections, and I'm assuming you prefer the 1A, but they both
can
win.
Them both, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This is an entry that I can't get past. I was wondering if they would scratch the 1 Lottie's Mission to get Queen of Everything in, who's just an hour and a half the horse to beat. And we'll show her last race from the start, and then we'll pick it up in the stretch to start. I mean, Queen of Everything should have won this race by 7 lengths. Just completely blows the break, and that's bad. Even though she's about a 1 slow, she finds herself 3 to 4 off the lead in a race where she's going to be cruising up front. And said some mediocrity is loose on the lead in there, and she just can't run her down, and the race ends up holding up. I understand. She has a lot of layoffs. I'm a little sick of her, too. And
Yeah.
being that I bet her when she was 10-1 that day when she finished second. And Amos abused me for picking her that day.
I remember
It was
that.
such a pathetic loss. Like, if there was any justice, right, she would have won just because Amos was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
Cuts
he liked the
cuts the
chalk, and I think
whole-
is still running.
Cuts the
But he
whole
probably
6
claimed it, too.
furlongs and gets
Yeah.
run down. Yeah, I mean, this effort here, I mean...
She is getting a little tiresome, I got to admit, but she's supposed to win tonight.
You don't see too many horses that have made 7 starts that have races dating back 2.5 years ago. You don't see that.
And, you know, the other horse to beat is Charlotte Webley, and Jeremiah's on a bad run, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
I gotta
3
tell
for
you.
79 in New York over a period of time. Love the guy, but he's not on a good run. I think
Yeah.
he'd be the first one to say, I'm not sure I'd want to bet my horses right
And
now.
I probably should have had her 3rd or 4th. I think that was just an oversight on my part. But, man, do you want her at those short prices? I don't. You want her?
No,
She's going to be a short
you
price.
have to use her.
Yeah,
You
no,
have
no,
to
I
use
know. Like I said,
I
it's
mean, I
probably
know
an
you
oversight.
have to be loyal to Chad, so you've got him second. You know, you wouldn't want him to get, because you
Well,
picked
I
those
mean,
3 Motts yesterday, and he's going to start
What are you
feeling
gonna?
there's not enough love.
Let me ask you a question.
I called him earlier, and he was crying.
Would you be
He says Stabile
surprised?
doesn't love me like I used to.
There are 3 first-time starters in here. Let's be completely honest here.
No, let's not.
They wouldn't have to be world beaters.
Yes, that's correct.
To be
I actually think
players
the
in
1A's
here.
okay.
I do too, but
the 1A's okay,
I'm-
but she is a little bit tiresome. Gaps
I'm just
and-
saying, so,
Yeah.
5-year-old run 7 times over
No,
30
you're,
months.
you're right. You're right. I can't.
Not trustworthy.
I don't think that the Tommy Albertrani, when whistling the dart from pedigree standpoint, has got much going on. I don't like the keep on dreaming. There's a 3-year gap from the first foal to this one. I mean, it does feel like those gaps, those horses, we mention it, they rarely seem to run. Manny Petty is a first foal for my friend Tom Coleman, so I hope that horse runs well for
By
Tom.
my boy Zevo.
Mighty Zevo. Well, Tom owns Zevo.
I know. I remember.
Very important. How's the sale going in Ocala? Is that still going on? Or
I believe so.
shouldn't that be something like HRN is covering?
That's where Morley went with his Maggie Morley.
So he's doing advertising for you. Maybe
It's
we
the
should get Steve
barbershop.
to sponsor Talking Horses
The
for his
Big A
pool
bar-
business.
Big
What do you
A
think?
barbershop.
He's not in town, but
No, the Big A barbershop is open for business.
have you got any calls from racing people that are looking for a haircut?
Toby Sheets. That's
Really?
using it as the first. Yeah, Toby Sheets is up next to raise some money for charity. So
Nice.
Toby's
When,
next.
when are you doing Toby's
I got to coordinate it with Toby.
Excellent. I like
Yeah.
that. Let me know. I'll donate for Toby.
Thank you.
Excellent. Good to hear. All right, race number 6. Race number 6. You got the 2 Chad Brown factor. Anthony made it easy, Chad. He just picked you 1-2. He's got that loyalty pin. Well, I don't know. Yesterday with all his Motts, you buried Mott yesterday, the poor guy.
I've been waiting.
I tell you, if you don't stop picking those horses, the guy may never win 5,000.
He only had one in today.
He's
to
going to just
pick.
start running everything out of town.
His problem with the one I've been waiting to bet the
I
one
was
back
going to
today
text him
too.
yesterday and tell him that he's got a problem.
He's
You
well
are
aware.
anchoring him down.
He's been anchoring a guy down for 30 years. I forgot to bring my picture of him at my college graduation party in today to try to bring some goodwill and good
Is
luck.
it earlier or later than the one that we used for the stats?
Probably
That's-
around
I
the
think
same-
that's
probably
like
around
his-
the same
I think
time.
that one's like from his high school graduation.
Probably around the same time.
Okay, why do you prefer Noor Sahara or the other one?
So Noor Sahara, and I think he had this horse entered against Got Stormy in South Florida in one of those stakes races, in the stakes race that rained off. And I
Well,
remember.
Scott Stormy's running. He probably wishes he ran.
Yeah. No, they all
Unfortunately.
scratched. They all came off the turf.
It's so hard to keep fillies and mares from year to year. It's so hard, Anyway,
tougher than
it's a shame
tougher.
because she's such a good horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was
But, I
brilliant
mean,
up
look,
in
she lost a step.
Oh,
But
for sure. Yeah.
he thought enough of this filly to drop her in, and that was a race that Got Stormy was being pointed for, and he was ready to run this
Here's the
filly
question:
against
is
her.
a 1.1 a little long for her, and on paper, is a 1.1 a little short for Elliott?
So the stakes race that she was entered in. I can't remember what the race was. It was an overnight stakes. It was a mile.
It wasn't the fake
This
7.5.
race-
The pretend,
no.
the pretend 7.5.
It was
is
at a
actually
mile. It was at a mile because I got ridiculed for picking against Got Stormy going a mile against a bunch of listed stakes horses.
I wouldn't have ridiculed
And
that.
now this filly is going the 1.1 1/8. So that's obviously a concern. But she kept some good company and some starts over there. That last race, when they come over here and get the Lasix, you always wonder if it is just part of the repertoire at this point, or
Well,
that last
these are
race,
both private purchases.
Yeah.
These are not horses that connections are bringing them over. They're private purchases, so there is a difference.
Yeah, there is a difference, no doubt. I mean, this horse kept some good company over in Europe, And I just think if she shows up here, again, this is one of those races, especially now with Dinah Passer out of here, I don't think either of these first-time U.S. for Chad would have to be
What did you think of? You
world
like
beaters.
Dinah Passer?
I did like Dinah. I like Dinah Passer a little bit in here. Sure did.
Good scratch for you.
Yeah. I don't know about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know about that. Anyway, I
Okay.
thought if one of these two showed up.
Listen, I won't be surprised to win. I won't be surprised if we get the money's wins. We'll go back to Saratoga. This is opening day at Saratoga, and a terrific ride by our friend Joelle Rosario, getting the money with her, and Christophe Startup Live. She just, I don't think she wants to go in those longer races. But once again, the problem for her is these 1 1/8 races on the inner, they're just always having slow paces. She needs a 1 1/16 on the Widener.
Get a little pace. Yep.
I mean, it's just she needs those races that are more conducive to horses with her closing running style. But she's good enough to win here. Junior's been riding well. Not surprisingly, he usually rides well. I like Bo Bell here. Bo Bell, to me, number one, she draws well on the inside. She can be forward here. She's not going to be in front, but Vortex Road and Ms. Munning should be the first two. But I think she can be behind them. And if you look at her, they tried these long-distance turf, stake races. She's just not as good enough to win those races. And I didn't think she ran that badly in the Zagora, going the 1.5 miles. Now she cuts back in distance. There's a little bit of moisture in the ground, which definitely helps her. And I thought she'd be forward in here, and I thought maybe she could get a jump on the other ones. And I kind of like Bo Bell in here. I'm scared of Chad's horse. I mean, if you're not scared of Europeans that Chad Brown has, you haven't been paying attention.
Right.
I don't mind betting against them. They're always going to take a lot of money. So, and it's not as though they're going to be overlays. They might not be dramatic underlays, but there's two of them here. Maybe they'll both beat me, but I'm going to take a shot with this horse.
Okay.
Take a good trip. Race
I don't
number.
particularly care for her, but I've been wrong before.
Well, you like the other Tommy Albertrani. You can only be loyal to one of his horses. Tommy's lucky you don't bury him.
They have
He's
Saddler's Joy.
Who is? Mine?
Dinah Passer.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
And Lunaire. But there's no loyalty to Lunaire. He's one of my. I love Lunaire. He's become one of my nemesis.
It's not a bad
one of the
horse.
biggest.
Who's the horse that Who's the horse that Kieran got last year that got really good, that won the Knickerbocker, won the race on?
Luke Cullen.
LeCullen, right? I'm getting them confused.
He had the bad trip he had the tough trip in the mile behind Uni and got stormed.
Oh, yeah, he got jammed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Race number 7. My friend Steve Christ has a horse in here, Vivazano. Steve and Ken have. And I texted him on Sunday. I said, you managed to find yourself the saltiest looking New York
Unbelievable, right?
maiden race of the year. And he was telling me how Vivazano, Bob Dunham, actually is betraying this horse. I mean, Phil's their trainer, but Bob Dunham, who's Phil's father-in-law, Phil Gleaves, is here in New York. And they were not sure if they'd run Bob Dunham's name or his. After the race, I hope that Bob Dunham, for their sake, that Bob Dunham wishes his name was in the program. We'll see how those things work out. I don't have a lot clever
More
to say
turf
in here.
there for that one, too, right? Maybe this is just a little bit of a jumping off
It's more of a
point.
turf fair in the dam. This is the first foal. It's Verrazano, but you're right. You're right. This horse, maybe we'll see turf. Well, I hope the horse runs well enough for them in the dirt that they don't go to the turf. Jewel of Arabia will go to Saratoga when Jewel of Arabia. I was a little afraid. I think I was in the boxes this day, and I was afraid she was going to jump in and steal my Saratoga water. Was to a pretty good horse who came back Naked Avenger to win a stake in the next race.
Yep.
She's run well both times. I don't have a real reason to be against her. I think there are other players in here, particularly the one inside of her, Caladad, who we'll get it to, but I don't see a reason to be against her, especially with Christoph's horses running as well as they've been running.
Yeah, I think that's the key point here, too. These horses, his horses have come back from Florida. They're all running well. Listen.
Look where she was.
I don't want to.
She was getting closer and closer to my water the closer they got to the finish line.
Look, I mean, your water's never far away.
It's leaned over.
I can't.
She can't get it here at Belmont. She'd have to bear out and jump up 3 flights.
She's tough to pick against in here today, I believe. You want to use a horse
But
or two,
there is
maybe
a lot going on in
B's
this
and
race.
C's, but
No ones for you anywhere?
I could have made a case for a half a dozen.
No, I had
this
7 or
filly.
8 of them open, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
I
with you.
remember having a little bit of a push. Do you remember the push on Ghost before we went when we got to Saratoga last year? The race that Big Q won, the Flying P horse got left and came flying late to get second.
Yeah, I know. Gary Gullo, I saw him a little before the race, and he told me that he thought that this horse was okay.
We had a tip. There was a tip on the Asmussen horse as well, and now
The horse who ran second should have won. Bruce Levine, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Levine.
Yep.
Never ran back, right?
no.
Yeah. I thought that.
Well, maybe
Bruce-
she did run back in the winter. She didn't run well.
I don't know if she ran back. No, I thought Bruce told me that she was working.
She may have been entered and scratched.
Okay.
Whatever the case is, I remember
Maybe we canceled.
Asmussen was a tip in there. We haven't seen this filly in 11 months now. There's nothing
No,
wrong
I
with
agree.
Big
I've
Q.
got her open. I got her. She was my 5th pick.
Right.
I've got
It's
her.
that
in
kind of race where you can make. I think you could have 5 or 6 horses open underneath the favorite, and if that's the case, you got to use a big spreader. I think you got to lean heavily on Jewel of Arabia.
I was watching Sharp Star. I'm not going to blame Correa for this horse. This horse just takes herself out of the race.
Yeah.
And it's not like she was really running strongly at the end. She's just sort of rolling,
Picking
clunking
horses,
along.
just kind of like picking
I'm not saying
horses
she
up.
can't win. You got the 2 from Jeremiah, the 6 and 7. It's a cold barn. I mean, honestly, if Jeremiah's barn hadn't been so cold, wouldn't you be scared and wouldn't you pick Allure of Fortune in here? That horse actually ran well first time out.
Yeah. Yep.
Horses came out of that race to run.
A lot of horses came out of that race to
Freedom,
run. The blinkers come
yeah,
off.
that horse is dangerous. Caladad, I'm surprised you don't have Caladad. Well, you have 4th, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's one of these races where, as you say, you could have anybody. This horse is okay. This horse ran behind Honey Money. This horse is okay. I bet this horse is dangerous in here.
Kind of thing. This was the kind of race
Good
where
family,
if I'm going to lean on the favorite, if I'm going to play exact as it tries, I'm going to try and get
Just-
some of the horses that are bigger prices.
Is
in
that a
here.
half to West Hills Giant out of Cypress Hills? The
Oh.
same. I think it's that family. I think it's the West Hills Giant family that Terra Nova had.
Maybe.
I always like that horse. How about Linda's horse? I mean, Voice of Spring is a funny horse. I didn't put up the video, but this horse worked 21 flat at the 2-year-old sale over a year ago. Did not look like she was going fast in there. It's a weird one. It's a second foal. It's a 3-year gap. It's a commissioner probably wants more distance.
Yeah.
And Linda doesn't win with a lot of first-time starters, but I'd be scared of this horse, too.
Between the
I
pedigree
wouldn't be
and
surprised
the-
this horse is a runner.
Between the pedigree, yeah, I
Maybe
wouldn't
a
either.
mile second
but I
time
could
would be
see
more
this horse.
likely,
I could see
but-
this horse coming running for 4th or 5th in here today. Maybe coming running late. I think a little
But
more.
when you look
ground.
up at the board, this horse is 3-1 in this field.
You're using
You
the
might
horse.
be scared.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
no,
just
no
this
question
is,
about it.
You know, this is don't fall asleep on this horse, Voice of Spring. That's an awful lot of money to pay
I think
for
we're going to get a
commissioner.
better price than we probably should on Jewel of Arabia today because there are so many other ways.
Well,
you
I'm
can
not sure
look.
Jewel Arabia's supposed to be that short. I don't. Why is who's supposed to be that short in here?
those
I'm going to
2-year-olds.
disagree with you and say this
Okay.
horse is going to be an underlay considering how many possibilities there are in here.
Okay.
You know, and I got to say, $450 for a commissioner. I'm probably wrong, but that feels like a record that may never be broken, right?
This early, yeah, of course.
Race number, you had to pick Belmont in race number 8. How could you resist?
This
You have
horse.
to. You bury the poor guy. Nah, there's other things going on in this race. Chewing Gum's last race, he did have legit trouble in there. And not only did he have legit trouble, and we'll take a look at it, we'll show you the first part of the race, and then we'll show you the last part of the race. But this was a race that was dominated on the front end by 2 horses that were going very, very slowly up front. And Joel is like trying to get out of there. What I like about this is even though Joel steadies there and back, he doesn't grab. You know what I mean?
He never does. He very rarely
The
does.
horse doesn't. He doesn't panic. Well, Joel never panics, but he steadies him out, but he takes him out, but he does it in a manner that didn't crush him, and he's probably better off getting to where he was than anywhere else. And considering more, see, the trouble I think will get people to bet the horse when the reality is it's just the fact that this horse badly beat Dynamics, and 6 furlongs is a big plus for this horse,
Big
right?
plus. The extra half a furlong. I've talked about this all winter long, covering places like Will Rogers Downs and Fauner Park. The half furlong is huge because if this race is 6 furlongs, right, in theory,
So you
he's
find
going
when
to
they
win.
stretch out from Fauner to at Belmont?
What
they
all I'm
usually
trying to
do
say
well?
is that people say, oh, it's only a half a furlong. That's, especially at the sprint distances, it's a big, big half furlong. I don't know how many feet are in a half furlong, but
I'm not
it's
arguing
more
about
than that.
big.
Yeah.
Big is one thing you know.
I'm an
and
expert.
I don't.
So, yeah, I've been waiting to bet this horse back. I'll be
Really?
honest, I'm a little surprised this horse is coming back this quickly. Right? 3 weeks. That's
If this horse loses, I think Belmont's going to make it, so you're not.
If this horse loses, I'm going to start
This
thinking
horse
it's me,
can
and I may
lose.
leave. He can
Let me ask
lose,
you a question.
but
How fast is the pace going to be? Is there a chance that Kendrick shakes loose with Fortune's Fool?
so I don't know.
I should add that horse.
I'm
higher.
not saying this horse is fast chewing gum, but I don't.
That's a good move because she's not.
Right, but I
He's
don't.
not.
I also don't believe he would have, because like you said, he didn't make it
He has
an,
no- he has
an
no
incident
speed
last
sprinting.
time.
He has no speed
I don't think he'll be as far back as he was last time.
I'm not saying he's going to be 8 or 10 lengths behind, but the question is how fast is it? Is Sayaf going to heat the pace up? Or
What
is
do we do
Kendrick-
with exploration?
is
He's
Hendrick-
got to
well,
go, doesn't he?
let's answer the first question. Is Sayaf going to heat the pace up, or is Fortune's Fool going to control at a fairly moderate pace?
Well, Sayaf's best race.
He's
well,
when he
his
goes.
lone win
but,
is when he
but,
goes.
But,
yeah.
you know, Chad doesn't love getting involved in those situations. But the reality is, I think Sayaf has to go enough to make Fortune's Fool have to run to get the lead. Because you let Kendrick get loose in this lead and back it up, you're going to want to have Fortune's Fool on your ticket.
And I know it's completely different turf courses, but Explorationist isn't exactly slow either. I mean, Explorationist is pretty fast.
Yeah, I don't want to get into turf courses at Gulfstream. I don't know what they mean. I really don't.
And this horse went 45, went 21 and change on the all-weather
I
Presque
hear ya.
Isle. This
I
horse
hear
is
ya.
fast, you know?
I hear you. Do you really see this horse getting engaged in a big pace?
Not with Johnny, no, but I'm just saying I don't think it has to be as lonely a lead as maybe Fortune's Fool getting. I could see Fortune's Fool being hounded in here from both the 1 and the 3. I mean, from the rail, Castellano has to be aggressive.
Got another
you would
Seth
think, right?
or second here. He's not going to be happy. I'm just letting
What
you
do
know.
you mean?
Just pointing it out.
It's been a long time
what do you
between
like
turf
about
drinks for him, huh?
Identity? Isn't he a better dirt horse? Didn't he
I don't
dramatically
know if he's a
improve when
better
taking
dirt
the
horse.
dirt? You don't know.
Maybe he needs a little pace and can come running down the center on the turf. I don't know.
The problem is he has the same running style as chewing gum.
I think this pace is going to be a little faster than you do.
Anthony,
him
Anthony,
running. I think every pace is going to be faster than you do.
Every pace is going to be faster than I am. And guess who ends up winning that argument? 98% of the time around here. I mean, you can't argue against that.
It's a little high.
You're very hopeful. It's not. There's
Percentage
never
is a
any pace
little high.
around here.
Percentage
Anthony
is a
won
little
2
high.
lunches yesterday. We're down to 44. There was some clever riding in that race, by the way. Race number 9. What do you think? What do you think? Ray Handel? Attention, Ray Handel.
He wasn't watching
Stop
yesterday,
being afraid
obviously.
of Kansas Kiss's speed, please. Don't overthink it, man.
Joel was on the front end with Alondra, and it was almost like
were crawling.
Where is everybody?
They were crawling.
Where is everybody?
Well, he did ask her out of the gate. He did want to be forward, to be fair. You were right about that. So you were right, even though
But once he
grabbed,
established,
right.
it was like, where
everybody
where are
couldn't
you?
grab fast. Well, around here, one guy goes, and the rest of them go, put the brakes on, because, nobody's ever been involved in a pace
Now, let me
duel
ask you a
and
question.
been
If it was
effective.
me and you, would you press the pace? If I was on the front end, would you come after me?
I'd be afraid you might knock me off. You're very unscrupulous.
When I used to drive the harness race, I used to get parked a mile a lot. I
When
got
I was
parked
a
on
kid,
three different occasions.
There was a rider at a driver at Serling Harness. You know that story with the doctors.
Yeah, of course.
A driver at Serling Harness named Kerry Carcos, who I think weighed like a lot. I don't want to give the number. It's been a long time. It was a big number. Yeah.
Sable show off one day. She took me to mile, and the guy looked at me. I said, "When's she running?"
Somebody's going to remember this on
He
Twitter.
said Wednesday, and then he gave me an up and down. She says, "But not this Wednesday." And the following Wednesday, she won and paid $27 wire to wire to be off.
You ever see the European ones in France, them riding the standard reds?
Julie Crone has the record on a harness horse for standard bred under saddle.
Can we go to Mr. Buff?
World record.
We're holding
Who doesn't
people
want to
back
see
from
Mr. Buff?
Here he is, Mr. Buff. You picked against Mr. Buff.
I did.
Jesus. You already lost your card, so you're just groveling. I don't see any reason to try to beat this horse. He's so good. I almost feel bad picking against him. This is a very, very, very tough field. He just goes to the front and makes everybody come and catch him. He's good. Good luck to them trying to beat him. And I got to tell you something. I'm worried about Pat in the back. I know that he's good when he's good, and I know a mile's a great distance for him. But when the run that Jeremiah's on, he's going to have to start winning races before I start betting those horses.
So don't you have to respect this
And
horse
he's
here
a
at
friend
Belmont?
of mine. I hate saying it.
You
but
got to respect this horse at Belmont Park, though. I mean, this horse.
Of course, I respect him. It's not a question of respect, Anthony. It's a question of I don't want to.
The barn's cold. There's no way. I love Jeremiah too, but the barn is cold.
They're like a refrigerator.
The barn is cold.
Mr. Freeze came in the barn. Yeah, I mean, listen, but you got him third. I'm against him. I mean, I'm sorry, but we'll take a look at Bankit. Isn't Bankit like Mr. Second? I mean, he runs second no matter who he's running against good horses.
But don't you think
Isn't one turn better for him, Anthony?
I think one turn is absolutely better than him, but I don't. When when you have these fast paces with some of the cheaper horses.
You think this is going to be a super fast pace here?
No, that's my point. My point is when you have the fast paces with the cheaper horses, the claimant horses, and those paces fall apart.
We
a
like
little
to
bit.
refer to them as lower level horses here.
These horses, well, I've been around the racetrack since I'm 2, so I call them cheaper.
Somehow you've made it this far.
When I've made it this far. Imagine that. When horses like Mr. Buff, who doesn't really have to go that fast today, these paces are it's gonna hold together more. I'm a Bankit fan.
Well, but you're giving me an argument the pace going to hold together more, and you picked Bill DeSuze.
Well, Bankit's gonna be Bankett has no. Bankett, for some reason, whether they go 22 or 24, Bankett's 8 lengths off the lead.
He's going to be farther off than Build-A-Suit.
So, Build-A-Suit's going to be the first one in range. If somebody presses Mr. Buff a little bit, maybe Blewett.
Blewett can't press him. Blewett took advantage of a significant speed track last time out. Okay, here's your pick, Build-A-Suit. Have at it, Anth.
How good has this horse been since the 14-month layoff? I mean, a tough beat nose in the Morrissey away from being a perfect 4-4.
Unbelievable photo.
Unbelievable photo finish. I thought he won every bob.
Speaking of heading to the winner's circle and finding out you lost.
Sickening, right? The other races.
They got up and I went.
I mean, the other races. I remember when he won the first race back. I was actually in the booth that day.
A great trip.
He did, but he exploded.
I agree.
And then, you know, he has been consistently good. Look, am I sitting here and tell you I'm going to take a wild swing betting Build-A-Suit today? No. I'm using Build-A-Suit, and I'm using Mr. Buff in my pick fours and pick fives.
In my opinion,
and I'm going to hope that somebody presses Mr. Buff enough, and Build-A-Suit is the one in calling range when they turn for home to get the job done at 3 times the price.
In my opinion, the reason that you could like Build-A-Suit in this race is much different than your opinion. In my opinion, Build-A-Suit has faced one moderate to slow pace after another, and as a closer, he's been able to adapt and still win races impressively, despite the fact that the dynamics are continuously against him. That, to me, is the argument for Build-A-Suit. Now, he's going to have to do that at a mile as opposed to shorter distances, and he might be a horse that's more effective. On the other hand, when he ran that mile race, he ran a figure that was reasonably close to his sprint figures, and he's just a vastly improved horse
Better
since
horse
then.
now, yeah.
So I'm hoping he does well. In here, and I want to see if something was correct.
And listen, he ran into, I know it was 3 years ago, but Giant Expectations a graded stakes winner. So it's not like he ran against slouches going the flat mile. And like you said, he is just a vastly improved horse.
But you think you have to hope that there's some more hitting here. If there's no hitting, they're not beating Mr. Buff. If there is, that opens it up for some others. I certainly hope he runs well. I don't know. I can't pick against Mr. Buff.
Okay. I don't listen. I understand that. I took a little shot.
He's just too good.
Okay.
He's just too good. Race number 10. Race number 10. I'm waiting for the picks. Oh, we picked the same horse here?
We found the same horse in what I thought was a wide open race. We found the same horse.
Well, I actually don't, but
really?
Well, what's this horse? Is this horse kind of the horse to beat on paper? Is this sort of an obvious horse?
I thought off his...
Feels like the speed. Feels like Jose's supposed to send him the lead. And his last race was good. I mean, we'll take a look at his last... Why don't we take a look at his last race?
I would love to look at his last race,
Would you like to
Andy.
see his last race? I happen to have it right here. Well, they have it in the truck.
I mean, what's wrong with this effort?
Who was the guy honking the horn at?
I was just about to say,
the only people here are the two jerks up here.
Yeah, right.
We don't even have a cameraman.
And, Bobby... Oh.
I think
they left us to our own devices today.
Claude may be invisible today.
Yeah. So Gray's Fable came back and ran really well behind Battle of Blenheim in the mandatory payout day down there, the last big carryover at Gulfstream Park in the Rainbow Six. He ran a very good race. He almost held that horse off. He's chasing him around there.
You left the 7 out off the board? I guess you figured enough sucking up in the 7.
I don't know.
I don't like that horse either.
Yeah, he's the 5th pick. I mean, yeah, this horse made a lot of sense. I just don't think.
I'm with you.
I think this horse is going to be all of the 4-1.
Well, there's two Chad Browns. I don't like Amano. If Amano wins, I lose. I thought the horse was awful last time out. Maybe the horse will be better, just a better actor today, and maybe more distance will help, but I didn't see any reason to like it. You know, Stare Decisis. I had actually watched this horse's debut. When I first saw it live, I thought the horse was very unlucky not to win. Watched the replay a couple times.
He just didn't fire.
I reckon this was a very good ride. No, I don't fire. I don't think she's very good. Or he's very good.
Well,
I don't think he's very good.
Yeah. Amano, you see Amano? It wouldn't surprise me if Amano came and gobbled up Astronaut, or if Amano ran 6.
A lot of dinners coming up at Nove at some point in the future.
Oh,
if you left Louis out, I mean, you might have been sitting out in the parking lot parking cars before they let you go.
The patio's open. Believe me, there's a.
That's nice.
And you can't get 10-1 on me going. You can't get 10-1 in any casino right now on me being at Nove Sunday night this week.
You can't get 10-1 in any casino in anything because they're all closed.
I can be at Nove this Sunday night. That can absolutely happen. That can happen.
People are canceling reservations
Just so you know.
as we speak.
The Big Egg could be barreling up the Northway at any minute on Sunday. How about Jimmy Jerkin's horse? How about the 4? You don't know love for reliability?
Why?
I don't know. I think the horse that he ran against first time, Vintage Print, who won the A other than yesterday. He was fortunate to win that A other than, but for Chad and
besides the favorite, who, as you say, was fortunate to beat, there was nobody else in that field.
I like that horse, though. I like the way that horse finished off his last 2 races. I think he might be okay. Throw the blinker race out. He came back. He didn't run that poorly, stretching out to a mile and an eighth last time. He's an old Judmont horse. He's by Tappet. This horse is going to be 10, 12 to 1 in here.
No, he's not.
You don't think so?
No.
You just said thinking about the two Chads.
I don't think he's going to be 10, 12 to 1. I don't think he's going to be 4 to 1, but I don't think he's going to be 10, 12 to 1. Now, I think my horse might be a bigger price. The horse that I don't get is the horse that David has the favorite, Sham Rocket. What am I missing about that horse?
I put the
that
horse
has
fourth.
been burning money, and I didn't like that horse at all. And now going a mile and a quarter, people are going to see tonalist and just assume he wants more ground.
You got to hope.
I don't like
I
this
think
horse
that's what
at
you have to
all.
hope here.
I didn't like this horse at all. I'll be getting a call from Jerry soon about Donegal.
I think you got to figure.
Every time I don't like their horse, they win. They should.
You got to hope that this horse needs the more ground.
I like Sandro the Great in here. This is a turf. You want a turf pedigree for a horse to go long on the turf? It's Sandro the Great. This dam went over $300,000 in the turf. It's her first foal. This is the horse to me you want in pedigree, and is dressed up by a bad performance in an off-the-turf race, which I couldn't care less about. This is the one that I want.
Going 9 furlongs, so obviously there was distance intent for this horse. Jump Street 4 months ago. Yeah, one other horse that I could certainly use underneath in here. Certainly use on. This is a nice little. What do you want to do? We have no lunch bets. You want to go reliability 10 to 1's a push?
Yes. 10 to 1's a push. Anything under 10-0-0
is you. Anything
below.
Over 10-0-0 is mine.
Okay, I think we're done. Oh, we didn't run the ad, did we? Head over to Naira Bets. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
If you're not a member, we'll match up to $200 deposit bonus plus a free $25 play. Use the promo code Belmont25. Head over to Naira Bets, the best place to play. Anthony, it was a pleasure. It's a beautiful day here.
You know what you forgot to do yesterday?
What?
You forgot to send it upstairs.
To the man. The man in the booth. The man. John Brielle. Let's go upstairs for the call. The scratches and changes. I don't know.
Half hour from the call.
I hosted
Andy.
before, so when I was throwing to Johnny I was calling for the call. My brain is addled. Anyway, Johnny I's upstairs. Let's get the scratches and changes.
See you tomorrow.
Hello, racing fans, and once again, welcome to beautiful Belmont Park. And it's a delightful Friday here at Belmont with sunny skies and the temperature in the 80s. Main track fast, turf courses good, jackpot carryover in the Empire 6 of nearly $50,000. In today's first race, scratch number 1, Make Mischief, part of an entry. Scratch the 1. And a bunch of overweights. The 1A is 2 over. Number 2, 2 over. Number 3 is 1 over. Number 4, 3 pounds over. 5, 6, and 7 are 1 over. And number 8 is 2 pounds over. No changes in the second. And no changes in the third. In today's fourth race, number 1, King of Ranch, is a New York bred and 2 pounds over. The 1A is 2 over. Scratch number 2, Mr. Short and Simple. Scratch number 3, Frosted Rose. Number 5 is 2 over. Scratch the 6, Cray Cray. Scratch number 6. Numbers 7, 8, 9, and 11 are 2 pounds over. Number 8, Rhythm Section, is a Ridgeling. And scratch the 10, Blood Moon. So in the 4th, scratch numbers 2, 3, 6, and 10. Race 5 will kick off the Empire 6. Bunch of overweights there. Numbers 1 and 2 are 2 over. Number 4 is 4 over. 5, 6, 7, and 8 are 2 pounds over. Also note number 6, Helen by Night, runs with blinkers on. Blinkers on, number 6. Number 10 is 2 over. Scratch the 11, Cafaliani. Scratch number 11. Number 12 is now 4 pounds over. The 13 is 2 over. And a jockey change on number 14, Easy Laurel, to Dylan Davis. Dylan Davis rides the 14, and the weight there is 124. In the 6th race, scratch 1, Dinah Passer, and 6, the Great Johanna. Scratch 1 and 6 out of the 6th. In today's 7th race, all horses will be 2 pounds over. And scratch number 8, Master of the Tunes. Scratch the 8, Master of the Tunes. In the 8th race, scratch 7, Winston's Chance, 8, Chateau, and 10, Abiding Star. Scratch 7, 8, and 10 from the 8th. The 9th race, the Commentator, Handicap Stakes. Number 2, Whistling Birds, 3 over. Number 3, Funny Guy, 1 over. And number 5, Blew It, is 2 pounds over. 10th race, scratch 1, Vriodini, and the 9, Commissioner Dave. 10th race, scratch 1 and 9. And these horses will carry 2 pounds over. Numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, and 11. Main track fast, turf courses good. Empire 6, jackpot carryover, $49,827. The Belmont opener in 25 minutes at 1:15.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one of